Burgum says U.S. taking extraordinary steps to foil CCP market manipulation. Key industries in the West were within weeks of shutting down last spring after the Chinese Communist Party levied export restrictions on 7 heavy rare earths needed to manufacture magnets for everything from automobiles to F-35 fighter jets, according to United States Secretary of the Interior Doug Burgum. "We were going tit for tat in renegotiating trade pacts," he told American Thought Leaders host Jan Jekielek in an October 7 interview. Burgum recalled the CCP's April 4 response to President Donald Trump's April 2 executive actions that boosted tariffs on Chinese imports to 145%. They withheld shipping a certain type of magnet to all Western countries, not just the United States, Burgum said. "We were facing, within weeks, every auto plant in the world being shut down. The Trump administration exempted electronics from boosted tariffs, and the CCP lifted the restrictions, but the episode underscored how vulnerable the United States and its trading partners are to China's global dominance in critical minerals." According to the U.S. Geological Survey's 2024 mineral commodity summaries, the United States is 100% import reliant for 12 of the 50 most critical minerals, and more than 50% import reliant for an additional 29. Boil it down further, and the vulnerability is even more stark, Jekielek said, noting Chinese processors produce 85% of the 20 most important rare earth minerals sold on global markets. "The CCP's import restrictions is a wake-up call for everybody in the West to say we've got to have secure supply chains," Burgum said. It was already an urgent emphasis. On his first day back in office, Trump issued executive orders to declare an energy emergency and increase domestic energy production to help ensure a more secure, predictable, and affordable supply of critical minerals and materials. He followed with a March executive order requiring agencies to expedite projects by streamlining permitting, opening more public lands for mining, and including critical mineral development under the Defense Production Act. "President Trump understands that, as part of the national energy emergency, we're using every authority we have to bring those supply chains back home," Burgum said. "That includes us getting back in the mining game. But also, we've got to get into the refining of those minerals." In April, the Federal Permitting Council, in accordance with the March executive order, identified 10 mineral projects to be fast-tracked, including Resolution Copper's Arizona copper mine and Smackover Lithium's project in southwest Arkansas. China, however, will still dominate the global minerals market for years. When its processors' market shares are challenged, the CCP simply subsidizes them to upscale production and crash prices, making it unprofitable for competitors. Burgum cited how China overtly tried to knock MP Materials' Mountain Pass mine in California, until this summer, the nation's only rare earths mine, out of business despite the establishment of a Department of Defense fund more than a decade ago to subsidize its reopening. When these guys had made a couple $100 million, they were getting ready to go to an IPO. They had plenty of access to capital markets, commercial loans, bonds, and, then, all of a sudden, boom, the next year, they're losing $200 million because China's dumping in the market, he said. "This is just a playbook that China's used to avoid market forces and just strategically, as a country, subsidize certain industries to gain control. Premature, overplayed hand." Burgum, who made millions as a software entrepreneur before serving 2 terms as North Dakota governor, said the CCP's minerals market manipulation has spurred the administration to take an extraordinary step. "Government should never be an equity participant in a company. We're not picking winners and losers. But in this case, we can come in, take a minority position, send a signal to the market that there's going to be a partnership here," he told Jekielek. Government minority investment in key minerals can help markets weather CCP manipulation and, with select tariffs, encourage private investment to create, again, a measure of protection for U.S. companies to be able to restart this mining industry. Recent examples include the Pentagon's 15% stake, along with $400 million in stock, in MP Materials. The Department of Energy's 5% stake in Lithium Americas and 5% share in its Nevada project. And 10% stake in Canada-based Trilogy Metals Alaska Mineral Development. These equity investments in multiple mineral companies will help capital markets that had stopped working successfully for private companies, Burgum said. But it will take time, and even more investments, to overcome CCP's decades-long supply chain machinations, he said. The exposure Western industries saw last spring remains a threat, he said. China said, "We'll start shipping again. You just have to fill out this export form," Burgum said. Well, the export form is requiring everybody from automakers to tech companies to defense companies to say exactly how they use the magnet, what product it goes into, what are the dimensions. Is it for commercial or military use? It is essentially a giant intelligence gathering capability. Again, we just can't have this kind of dependence, he continued. And that's why, again, under the Trump administration, we are in an energy emergency. The CCP, however, may have overplayed China's advantages, exposing its own vulnerabilities, Burgum said. In my view, China played their card too early. They played it at a time when we were not involved in any kind of kinetic war, we're in a Cold War, essentially, a trade war, he said. They played it early, and that woke up America. Certainly woke up this administration. China has numerous issues to contend with, Burgum said. Among them, an overblown stock market, the real estate overhang, the demographics that they have, an aging population, slowing economic growth, a lot of debt in their economy. Most significantly, Burgum said, they're the most energy-dependent country in the world. They import 11.5 million barrels of oil a day, just to keep the lights on. So, in that sense, they've got a lot of dependencies. They've got economic security problems as well. And the Trump administration is making the CCP very aware of those vulnerabilities in trade negotiations. If the US shuts its doors, it can replace those goods, Burgum said. That takes away the largest market in the world, and that can create a lot of havoc economically back home for China. I think they're starting to realize that. I think they're going to come to the table with some concessions.